What makes a kids movie a quote-unquote kids movie? I never understood why we have to call something a kids movie. And I'm aware that it's pandered to kids and it's made for kids. But this particular label of its kids movies also comes at the cost of assumptions about these movies. And when I say these movies, it's typically Disney, Pixar, DreamWorks, just like to name those three. I did a video about the difference between these three studios if you want to check those out, but I don't understand why we have to categorize these movies as kids movies. Why can't we categorize them as cinema? Why can't we categorize them as just fantastic animated movies? Just because it's pandered to kids doesn't mean it's not cinema. Honestly, there's themes in these movies that benefit adults as well. A lot of these movies, I would argue, made me what I am today and got me into the things that I'm into today, like movies. I think it was really refreshing when I was getting into film and I actually went back and watched Pixar movies to learn how to write a story. I'd watched something I was very familiar with but saw it in a whole different light that I had never seen it before. And then I, of course, went and watched a bunch of other fantastic movies. I don't think just because they were made for kids, it means that they have to be crap movies. If something is made for kids, I think it should be just as good as any other movie. This also gives people the assumption that anything animated is for kids as well, because most kids' movies are animated. But I think that's a huge misrepresentation of what animation is. Generally, the assumption when you see an animated movie that it's for kids. My generation does not see animation as just for kids, and that's not only thanks to anime, but also thanks to many other studios. Genndy Tartakovsky, which I probably messed up that name entirely, he made Primal, and he also made the final season for Samurai Jack. Neither of those two are for kids. Those are for adults to enjoy. And they don't have to be vulgar animations either. They're just really good storytelling. But because of the violence in a lot of them and the themes in some of them, it's not really for kids. Love, Death, and Robots is clearly not for kids either, yet they make fantastic animations as well. But Pixar changed that. Pixar didn't make it just to appeal to kids, they made it to appeal to adults as well. Pixar is a better alternative than something like Barney, which is just going to annoy the crap out of parents. When you watch the Oscars, you don't typically see movies that are intended for kids get nominated for Best Picture. They're usually only nominated for Best Animated Picture. And I think it is other filmmakers' fault for this because a lot of times a kid's movie is going to suck. It's like, what exactly does that look like for your kids that you just want to give them something lame to watch, that you don't care exactly what they're ingesting into their eyes? It makes no sense to me why people don't want to put the same amount of effort into kids' movies than they do on just a regular old movie. Anytime someone does put more effort into a kid's show or movie, they typically end up being really good, and people as adults still watch them. Adults will still watch Avatar: The Last Airbender. Adults will still watch Teen Titans. Adults will still watch DreamWorks, Disney, and Pixar movies, even the most recent ones. Why can't they just be considered good movies? Why are they just considered for kids? Why do we have to make up these new categories for films that this one's for kids, this one's for adults, this one's for teens? Why do we gotta make up these random categories? Why can't we just make a good movie? I think this honestly just limits our creativity in what we can make. I think we should be focused on how to tell a complex and interesting story rather than who are we making this for. Don't make movies for people. Make it because you want to make it. Make it because you're passionate about it. I know this may seem like a very petty or weird complaint of mine or just a weird subject that I brought up, but it's bothered me for years. I don't get why we can't consider these movies cinema. They should be considered cinema. I don't think it's necessary or even right of us to just disregard something because it's intended for a particular audience. And I don't think it should be intended for that particular audience, therefore it gives you the excuse to make something crappy. If I'm making a movie, I want it to be as good as I can possibly make it, no matter who it's for, and no matter what it's about.